who she really is.
Help. Also tonight, in their own words, a brother loses his sister, a father loses his son.
Isaiah didn't say anything. And they shot Isaiah.
In depth, what are schools doing to make sure kids are safe, stopping violent kids before they explode? And in Kosovo, NATO missiles hit Milosevic's home. Now, word he may have a new offer. But is it enough?
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. Tonight, 2 days after the massacre in Littleton, Colorado, shock is giving way to grief and also to anger. And the police have disclosed that gunmen had planned more than just a mass shooting. They wanted to blow up the entire school building. Late tonight, we also got the first close-up look at the school grounds. Authorities allowed a camera crew to videotape outside the school building, no pictures inside. It is an eerie scene. Bullet holes, broken glass, books and bikes, where kids left them and ran in panic. And tonight, there's a stunning new development involving a videotape and a young California man who knew Eric Harris via the computer. For the very latest now, let's go to NBC's Jim Avila.
They are frightening discoveries. Today, deep inside Columbine High School, buried in duffel bags, the kitchen, at the rear of the student cafeteria, the largest explosives found so far. 2 pipe bombs attached to 36-pound propane tanks, investigators believe were intended to burn the school down. Bombs so big, they raised new suspicions that Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold could not have acted alone.
I don't know how 2 people could have brought these in here, and this is widening our net in this investigation.
As investigators finally finished their initial search of the crime scene and allowed news cameras the first close-up pictures of the schoolhouse battleground, the sheriff issued a warning to any students who may have helped with the attack.
Any involvement in planning this thing, any involvement in helping and assisting this thing is considered first-degree murder as a result of this thing.
NBC News has learned detectives are questioning numerous students police call associates of the 2 boys. At least one of them, a member of the so-called trenchcoat mafia. He has hired an attorney and agreed to take a lie detector test. And today, more about Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, the suspected gunmen themselves. Court records obtained by NBC News show they finished juvenile probation for last year's breaking and entering incident 6 weeks early. And their supervisors were impressed, noting Harris enjoyed completing the anger management part of the program and is called a very bright young man who is likely to succeed. Dylan is also called bright in the court records and self-motivated and should do well in life. A different picture from a former friend of the 2 suspects. Brooks Brown says police were warned that the boys were making pipe bombs and had threatened him. They told police about the threats and Eric Harris's internet site, which promised a violent attack in a big city.
They knew, and they didn't do anything, and because of that, people are dead.
Sheriff's investigators tell NBC News, under the circumstances, they are too busy to check records to see if a complaint was filed. Neighbors say the 2 boys spent lots of time together and were in Harris's garage nearly the entire weekend before the explosion. Strange noises were heard, and police believe they may have been making bombs here.
I heard this repetitive crashing sound, like someone breaking glass, like bottles or something. Went on for a few minutes and then they left.
Sheriff's investigators say tonight that they did find pipe bomb parts in that garage and a note about the bombing attack, but they will not divulge the contents of that note. Also tonight, the ATF has completed its tracing of the 2 guns. The federal government says it's given that information to local police. Tom?
Jim Avila tonight in Littleton, Colorado. Thanks very much. The people of Littleton, especially students who survived the massacre at Columbine High, are drawn to a makeshift memorial near the school, a place where they come to remember and honor those who died. And tonight, we know much more about the victims, who they were, the lives they touched before their own lives came to such a brutal end. Here's NBC's Roger O'Neill.
These are the faces of the innocents, the victims of the evil of 2 classmates at Columbine High. 12 lives, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, all gone. A veteran teacher killed too, Coach Dave Sanders, father of 2, and a granddad. This is his daughter, Angie.
He's a good guy. Great grandpa.
Coach Sanders, even after being hit with a burst of gunfire, found the strength to lead 24 students to the safety of a classroom. He then collapsed, and for 4 hours they waited for help.
He was just bleeding so badly, and the boys in our classroom had to take off their shirts and help catch blood, and he kept saying, I can't breathe and I'm not going to make it.
Coach Sanders asked his students to take out his wallet and show him a picture of his children. Then he said, tell them I love them.
I wish for once somebody could have taken care of him, because he's always taking care of everybody else. Always.
In fact, a fellow teacher, Kent Friesen, who was in the classroom next to Sanders when the shooting started, says the coach always treated students like his own kids.
He was a father to 12 kids on the basketball court. He was a father to 9 kids on the baseball diamond. You couldn't say enough good things about him.
Through tears and prayers in a snowstorm today, Columbine students continue to remember their friends at the growing makeshift memorial of flowers, cards, and messages. Andy McDonald came. Of the 4 girls killed, one was special. He took 17-year-old Rachel Scott to the homecoming dance.
She was a really nice person. She was real Christian. She loved God. She liked everybody. She was nice to everybody. She didn't deserve to die. Nobody did.
With the first of many funerals scheduled for tomorrow, it's really sinking in now. Friends never coming back, and it's not going to get any easier here soon. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Littleton.
And of course, in the aftermath of Littleton, parents across the country are demanding to know what their schools are doing to keep their children safe. What can be done? We'll have some answers tonight in depth. And reliving the horror, he survived the terror at Columbine High, only to find out that his sister had been killed.
Something told me that something wasn't right with Rachel. Before we heard anything about her, I knew something wasn't right.
A boy loses his sister, a father loses a son. Katie Couric's moving and instructive interview with both of them.
Papa John's is only 14 years old.
But we've already been ranked higher in customer satisfaction than our 3 largest competitors.
3 years in a row.
Help us celebrate our big win.
Our success
And our anniversary.
Get 2 large pizzas with 2 toppings for just $12. 2 large, 2 toppings, just $12.
Taste our pride.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. And our most important ingredient, better people.
You got that right.
Boogie woogie, rumbling round, creamy, dreamy, rumbling round. It's got yogurt, blended right in, with the creamy taste of butter, you'll try again.
The goodness of yogurt, the creamy taste of butter with half the fat and calories. Must be Rummelin' Brown.
Try new genuine Bear Gel Caps, the only gel cap that can help save your life. New Bear Gel Caps, powerful pain relief, and so much more.
I want this one.
Quaker Toasted Oatmeal. You haven't wanted a cereal this badly since you were a kid.
Every second, every minute, every hour. Your plants are nourished continuously when you use Osmocote plant food. Osmocote has extended time-release granules, so just one application, once a season, is all it takes. Osmocote plant food. All your plants need, all season long.
You know there's nothing that I'd rather do than to be with you, talking with the stars. It's the way you make me smile and tell me who you are, yeah. It's Regis and Kathy Lee.
weekdays at 9 on News Channel 8.
NBC News in depth tonight, reaching out to children before they resort to violence. President Clinton spent a few hours today at a suburban Washington high school where there are programs in place to help children cope with their anger, also with violence. He took part in a discussion with some of the students.
As a student, I need to have that guarantee of safety, and truthfully, I really don't feel safe anymore.
Every school has to realize that if you want to be safe, you have to be prepared, just like you are here.
The president's effort is being matched at the grassroots level. While parents are looking for assurances, schools are finding ways to keep their children safe. NBC's Pete Williams has more on this tonight, in depth.
As schools across America fly their flags at half-staff in memory of those who died in Colorado, administrators and principals everywhere are hearing from parents anxious to know if their children are protected. This New Jersey principal has been responding to those worries all day.
The main concern of the parents is the safety of their children, and we have reassured them that this is a safe environment.
At Becky David Elementary School in St. Charles, Missouri, parents and teachers are thanking their luck, convinced that a program for putting sheriff's deputies in schools can head off serious trouble. Last May, 3 sixth-grade boys were arrested, accused of planning to kill classmates on the last day of school by imitating the deadly school shooting in Jonesboro, Arkansas, just 2 months earlier. Officials say classmates of the boys tipped off the deputy assigned to the school, averting disaster.
They certainly had it planned out, fairly well. We were lucky enough to be able to step in at an early stage, which really helped us out.
Educators agree it's critical for schools to know their students, to identify which ones may be headed for trouble so they can be watched and helped. In Wausau, Wisconsin, administrators are trying a new way to track problem children. Just this month, the schools began using a computer database updated each day to keep track of every student who gets in trouble with the law or who teachers think are acting suspiciously. When children show up on the computer, counselors talk to them and their families.
I think it's very important when we get this information that we involve the parents in sharing this, as also in terms of finding solutions to this.
Psychiatrists who specialize in children say it is possible to identify young people likely to become violent long before they act out their frustrations, when the right kind of help can prevent disaster.
There are no throwaway children. I don't think that we can ever say that a child is hopeless. I think what we need to do is to provide intensive services to those youngsters.
That's why child advocates say, as important as it is to keep guns out of school, it's critical to identify those children who'd be willing to use them on their teachers and friends. Pete Williams, NBC News, Washington.
Attorney General Janet Reno went to Littleton today, where she praised students from Columbine High for their courage in coping with this tragedy. She said they've been an inspiration for the entire country. Up next, the other big story of the day, of course. Navy SEALs are gearing up for a possible sea blockade of Serbia as Russia now tries to broker a peace deal.
It's here. It's real. A way to combine voice, video, data, and internet we call Sprint Ion. Integrated on-demand network.
Can we see it from the south side?
Sure.
Great job.
Not only will it help you bring products and services to market faster, it will help bring new people on board.
So I won't have to relocate?
No, we can work just like this.
Great.
And you'll be more responsive to your clients.
Can we get a file that size to him in time?
It's already there.
But it's not just about how Sprint Ion will help you face the future as a faster, more adaptable company. It's about facing your stockholders with a smile. Isn't that the point of contact?
I'm a dreamer, a wanderer, restless.
It's easy to take All Day's freshness with you with individually wrapped All Day's panty liners. A unique core and fresh weave help absorb moisture and odor, and they're wrapped for freshness wherever you go.
A thrill seeker. A nomad. Footloose.
For that fresh feeling anytime, anywhere, there's individually wrapped all-days panty liners from Always. Feeling fresh is being free.
I'm hungry.
Whoa. How'd you make lemon chicken?
With Pam.
She got a sister.
Introducing all-natural lemon-flavored Pam.
When Diane initially came into the office, her time horizon for investing her money was rather short-term.
It was right after college. I was going to turn over the money pretty quickly to pay for graduate school.
Since then, her objective has changed.
I've always had this kind of long-term goal in mind, which is starting my own business.
What that means actually invest more aggressively because her time horizon had lengthened. She knows herself. She knows her goals. She knows her tolerance for risk. She's learned about the tools that Schwab has to assist her in meeting those goals.
Tomorrow on Today, Monica Lewinsky joins Matt Lauer live and unedited. Thought you've heard it all? You haven't. Not till tomorrow on Today.
The other big story of this night, of course, the situation in Yugoslavia and an opening bid of sorts in a peace negotiation. It's the Russians playing the role of peace brokers. NBC's David Bloom joins me now from the White House. David, what's going on?
Well, Tom, there's a new offer for Milosevic. The White House is skeptical, but keep this in mind. It was President Clinton himself who encouraged the Russians to go to Belgrade in search of a diplomatic breakthrough. And tonight, a senior U.S. official tells NBC News that this could be the beginning of a dialogue to end the war.
It was Boris Yeltsin's envoy, Viktor Chernomyrdin, who today met for some 9 hours with Slobodan Milosevic, and then emerged to say a peace deal is in the works. According to the Russian envoy, Milosevic would allow refugees to return to Kosovo, accompanied by a United Nations-led international presence. Whether that means armed peacekeepers is not clear. Milosevic would also agree to decrease Serb forces in Kosovo if NATO simultaneously withdraws its troops from neighboring countries. On its face, Milosevic's offer does not meet NATO's conditions, and U.S. officials made clear the month-long air war will go on. But President Clinton, who was told of the reported offer as he met with NATO Secretary General Javier Solana, did not dismiss, but instead embraced the possibility of a diplomatic opening.
If there is an offer for a genuine security force, that's the first time that Mr. Milosevic has ever done that, and that represents, I suppose, some step forward.
But as NATO gears up for its 50th anniversary summit beginning tomorrow in Washington, President Clinton, for the first time today, said he could envision American ground troops going into Kosovo without Milosevic's approval. And with Secretary of State Madeleine Albright at his side, British Foreign Minister Robin Cook said Allied troops could even go in without a ceasefire. But Albright was more tentative.
We are confident that a sustained and relentless air campaign can achieve our objectives. We do not favor the deployment of ground forces into a hostile environment in Kosovo.
Still, for the first time in a month, NATO is making plans only, for introducing combat troops into hostilities. Still, a senior U.S. official insists tonight that Milosevic is bargaining now in parts because NATO, he says, is winning the air war. And according to this view and this official, he says, there's nothing Milosevic would like better now than to drag NATO into a ground war. Tom?
Thanks very much, David Bloom at the White House tonight. At the battlefront, NATO is stepping up the pressure, preparing for an oil embargo and hitting a new target, one that is clearly meant to send a personal message to Milosevic. We're joined now by NBC's Pentagon correspondent, Jim Miklaszewski. Jim, what do you have for there?
Well, Tom, tonight, Pentagon officials are wary of any possible deal out of Belgrade, so there will be no let-up in the NATO air war. And now, for the first time, taking airstrikes and the pain straight to Milosevic himself.
Even as thousands of diplomats begin arriving today in Washington for NATO's 50th anniversary, the air war in Yugoslavia literally hits too close to home for Slobodan Milosevic. 4 cruise missiles slam into Milosevic's main residence in the heart of Belgrade overnight, so accurate they destroy his bedroom. But nobody was home, nobody was hurt. Despite the direct hit, U.S. officials insist they're not trying to kill Milosevic himself, but are taking dead aim at the heart of his personal and political power.
We are targeting the head of this military regime on the one hand. We're trying to cut that off and break the central nervous system.
NATO is also preparing to cut off the Serbs' vital supply of foreign oil by throwing up what amounts to a naval blockade around seaports in Montenegro. NATO warships and U.S. Special Forces, Navy SEALs, are in the Adriatic ready to intercept oil shipments headed for the Serb armies.
It didn't make a lot of sense for us to be bombing refineries and at the same time not doing enough to prevent the access of oil by sea.
At the same time, NATO's preparing for another humanitarian crisis. U.S. intelligence says the estimated 800,000 refugees trapped inside Kosovo are beginning a mass exodus to the borders of Macedonia and Albania.
And if that many refugees flood the borders in the coming days, it will raise the crisis in Kosovo to a new level that NATO is not yet prepared to handle. Tom?
Thanks very much. NBC's Jim Miklashevsky tonight at the Pentagon. There was a terrible accident at Fort Campbell, Kentucky today. An Army Black Hawk helicopter crashed during a training run. 7 soldiers are dead tonight. Another 4 are injured. 2 of them are in critical condition. There's no word yet on the cause of the crash. On Wall Street today, the Dow headed further into record territory, gaining almost 146 points today, 1.4% of its value, mostly on a big earnings report for the Dow component, the giant IBM. NASDAQ was also up big today, 72.5 points. That's a gain of almost 3% on that market. Up next, Katie Couric's moving conversation with 2 people who lost loved ones in the Columbine rampage.
Some nations are born. This one was built. Built by heroes who for 97 years have driven trucks with the strength to match their own. The GMC Yukon continues this tradition. An SUV that combines comfort with the power to do more than expected. So to the heroes out there, we make this promise. You keep building this land, we'll supply the trucks. The Yukon by GMC.
Joseph.
Yes, Papa.
There is an enemy that threatens all weeds. It is the spray.
So, we'll bribe it.
The spray does not respond to bribes.
What's the world coming to?
Roundup. No root, no weed, no problem.
You're the perfect pair.
Everlasting love, this will be.
Get together for delicious lobster and shrimp. Side by side for a short time, priced at just $12.99. Escape to Red Lobster.
Feeling down? Overwhelmed? Now, to help you lift your spirits and look on the bright side naturally, there's Quanterra Emotional Balance. I used to think all St. John's words were alike, but they're not. The extract in Quanterra was clinically proven effective by doctors. And research suggests it regulates neurotransmitters affecting emotional wellness. New Quanterra Emotional Balance. There is light at the end of the tunnel. If it's not clinically proven, it's not Quanterra.
That must be a fascinating article.
You think?
But now it's time to feed the kitties. Anybody hungry?
I am.
Cats know what they want. Whiskas. What cats want.
Gotcha.
This is how the world feels when you have dry eyes. But now there's new Visine Tears with a unique Tears formula not found in other leading brands to make dry, scratchy eyes feel moist and comfortable. Visine Tears, it gets the dry out.
Our latest innovation springs from a very old idea, that heat cleans better. And so, Bissell introduces the first and only upright deep cleaner with an onboard heater. A common sense idea to make cleaning even cleaner. The new Power Steamer Pro Heat Plus from Bissell. Life's messy. Clean it up.
A town mourns. A nation searches for answers. For ongoing coverage of the Colorado school shooting, stay with MSNBC on cable and the internet.
Is your money safe?
Is your money safe?
Get a jump on the investment day. Today's Business weekday mornings at CNBC.
Wake up. Make money.
When something like Littleton happens, there's a common American family drawn together when the families most affected by the tragedy share their own emotions. This morning on NBC's Today Show, Katie Couric was joined by a father who lost a son, a brother who lost a sister. The brother is 16-year-old Craig Scott. His sister Rachel was killed. Craig was in the library when his friend Isaiah Scholes was shot to death. This morning, he sat with Isaiah's father, Michael.
People loved him.
He was outgoing. He was a special kid. He was very special. He was supposed to be going to lunch, and he decided to go to the, the library instead, because he had a paper to do.
Craig, you were in the library with Isaiah and another good friend. Can you tell me a little bit about what happened?
I saw him, I said, "Hey, Isaiah." And he came under the table and he said, "What's up?" And he sat between me and Matt. And that's when two tall kids with trench coats on, they came into the library, and they were shooting off their guns at people, and they walked by and they saw Isaiah, and one of them said to the other one, they said there's a N-word over here. And the other kid came over and saw him, and Isaiah tried to back up. Isaiah didn't say anything. And they shot Isaiah. And then they shot my friend Matt also.
And then you played dead, Craig.
Yeah, I just ended up laying on the floor. I was praying to God. He told me to, God told me to get out of there. And I got up and everybody was in shock. And I told everybody, let's get out of here. Let's run out of here. And I asked them if they had any brothers or sisters in the school. And they said, yeah. And I said, I'm going to pray for your brother or sister. All these people that I was praying for, 30 minutes later, their brothers and sisters were, their brothers and sisters were showing up.
But not your sister.
I kept praying for my sister and other people in that school. And something told me that something wasn't right with Rachel before we heard anything about her. I knew something wasn't right.
And when did you find out about your sister?
I found out the next morning. It was confirmed that she was dead.
Craig and Michael wanted everyone to hear their stories. You can see all of Katie's interview tonight on the News with Brian Williams on MSNBC on cable at 9 Eastern Time. And of course, we'll have continuing coverage from Littleton, Colorado, where they continue to gather at a makeshift memorial. That's Nightly News for this Thursday night. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you tomorrow night.
We're all in this together.
Nightly News is a presentation of NBC News. More Americans watch NBC News than any other news organization in the world.
Tracy's back Monday on Northwest News Channel 8.
It showed this materialistic doctor how to find true happiness.
The only way I could see to get more of that was to get rid of all these material things that I had.
Did you have to give up everything? How one small book did really great things. Next on Breakfast.
Tomorrow at 4 on Northwest News Channel 8.
During Adventure 99, buy a Dodge Dakota and Dodge will give you a $1,000 cash allowance. Or you can choose a vacation package worth up to $1,800 at the new Universal Studios Islands of Adventure